Fisker fizzling out, and the government wants its money back. The Energy Department is seizing $21 million from Fisker before the electric car company short circuit, saying in a statement, given the obvious difficulties the company is facing, we are taking strong and appropriate action on behalf of taxpayers. Good to know, but that last line stuck in my craw here. On behalf of taxpayers, bear in mind, the administration originally lent Fisker $529 million. Hadley Heath is wondering why Washington wasn't thinking of taxpayers then. Imogen Lloyd-Webber, Barry Sloan joining as well. Hadley, better late than never, though.
Yeah, Uncle Sam giveth and Uncle Sam taketh away. This is clearly an illustration of the fact that if you have a government big enough to give you everything you want, it's also a government big enough to take away everything you have. But this is just a fraction of the problem. $34.5 billion have been made in green energy loans since 2009 from the Obama administration. That's $34.5 billion too many.
All right. I'm very happy to say they're looking out for the taxpayers. They didn't start out that way, though.
And actually, it was originally $193 million. I think they were offered over $500 million, but they only took $193 only. I say only.
Right.
In principle, supporting clean energy, I get. Let's face it, we all know that climate change, man-made climate change, is going to cause future generations serious problems. So I do understand why a government is going after this.
By the way, we can get into a separate argument whether it's man-made climate change.
Well, according to the FT yesterday, there was some very
I'm not even going to get in that argument, but your point on the tax thing is what?
Is that fundamentally the government should be taking the lead in investigating clean energy. You can't always
you win some, you lose some.
You can't always invest in the short term. This is going to be a long-term problem. However, yeah, the execution wasn't ideal on this one, let's face it.
What do you think?
Well, I think the government should really stay out of these businesses. The government is encroaching in the auto industry, in green energy. The government is encroaching in the banking industry. We represent small businesses all across the United States. Small businesses really want the government to stay away from the private sector and let the private sector do its work.
But when those businesses are in trouble, they like help from the government.
Well, they certainly do want the support and they want the handout. Whether the government should actually provide it for them is another thing. And the government...
You're the tough love approach, right?
Tough love approach, right. Let the free markets work. They work all the time.
All right. Well, regardless, Hadley, the bottom line is that the appetite for this type of spending is not going away. Deficits notwithstanding, debates on climate change notwithstanding. Whether there'll be other Fiskers or Solyndras, the bottom line is there's still an appetite, certainly in the Senate, on the part of the White House, to fund more of these green initiatives, hoping that maybe they'll strike oil. No pun intended. But they haven't as yet. But the hope is they will they?
No, this isn't a case of the execution being off. This is a part of a trend. You could say that giving subsidies favoring certain companies over others is picking winners and losers, but the Obama White House actually has a pretty bad scorecard of picking mostly losers, picking companies like Solyndra, like Abound Solar, that go bankrupt and at the taxpayers' expense. So, no, we don't have the money or the resources for this. We have a $17 trillion national debt. Now is not the time to be putting our scarce resources into products that aren't marketable.
Imogen, how do they do it in Britain? In other words, if you're betting on new technologies, does the government get behind them? Because you just lost your AAA rating.
Well, we've lost everything. We have this thing called green taxes. We just tax people. Look, this is not without precedent. Let's face it, oil and gas and also nuclear energy, they had government funding in their first 15 years. So we have seen it before. Fundamentally, there does need to be reform in Washington. $100 billion a year goes in corporate welfare, crony capitalism. That needs to be looked at, and money from that, I think, should be used at these green energy
I just think we should drop all subsidies back for everyone.
Exactly. This green energy stuff is crony capitalism.
No. But I'm saying I would apply to the oil industry. I'd apply. Just get rid of them all. What do you think of that?
Well, Neil, to be frank with you, we're sort of in the middle of that position. Newtek is a government-guaranteed lender. We're an SBA lender. That program has worked for 53 years. And this year, because of the risk sharing between Newtek and the government, it's a zero subsidy item in the budget. So there are times where government does play an active and important role, but it's
but that's a lending aid. What I'm talking about is where the government assumes the role of propping up an industry or providing it tax breaks that will give it an advantage. I think whether it's oil or solar or anything in between, stop it.
They don't have the capability to make those decisions. The government shouldn't be in the venture capital business, and the government does have some good programs that work.
It can be a little bit pregnant.
Okay.
No idea where I'm going with that, but I'm going to leave it at that. Meanwhile, this just in, it was just the two brothers.